A 9-year-old girl vanishes without a trace. 9 years later, she reappears. But the story she tells is far from the happy reunion everyone expected. This is the bewildering case of Zhang Shan, a mystery that challenges everything we think we know about captivity and freedom. It was a normal school day in 2005 when Zhang Shan disappeared. Her parents were devastated. The police launched a massive search, but found nothing. No witnesses, no ransom note, just silence. For 9 long years, her family lived in a nightmare of uncertainty, clinging to the faint hope that she was still alive. Then, in 2014, a miracle happened. A young woman walked into a police station, claiming to be the long-lost Zhang Shan. The reunion was emotional. Her parents cried tears of joy, and the community celebrated her return. But as the initial euphoria faded, troubling questions began to surface. When the police asked her about her 9 years in captivity, her story was bizarrely simple. She said she was held by a man named Li Hao, a local odd-job man. He kept her locked in a basement room, and she had never once tried to escape. When asked why, she'd just shrugged and say, "He fed me. He was okay to me." This was strange. Li Hao was a scrawny, unassuming man. How could he have kept a growing girl captive for 9 years without anyone noticing? The police were skeptical. They pressed her for details. Where was this basement? What did it look like? Zhang Shan's descriptions were vague. She'd say things like, "It was dark. There was a bed and a small window." But when they took her to Li Hao's known residences, none of them matched her description. Li Hao himself was brought in for questioning. He was utterly bewildered. He admitted knowing the Zhang family, having done some repair work for them years ago, but he vehemently denied any involvement in the kidnapping. He had an alibi for the day she disappeared, and it checked out. His life was an open book, and there was no evidence he'd ever held anyone captive. The police were at a dead end. Zhang Shan's story didn't add up, and Li Hao seemed innocent. The media frenzy was intense. Was Zhang Shan lying? If so, why? Where had she been for all those years? Psychologists were brought in. They suggested she might be suffering from Stockholm Syndrome, identifying with her captor to the point of protecting him. But this didn't explain the lack of physical evidence. Her health was surprisingly good for someone supposedly kept in a basement for 9 years. She wasn't malnourished, and showed no signs of long-term confinement. The case took another sharp turn when a new witness came forward. A woman who ran a small noodle shop in a town hundreds of miles away recognized Zhang Shan's face from the news. She told the police that a girl who looked just like her had been working at her shop for the past 5 years. She went by the name Xiao Mei and was brought there by a man who claimed to be her uncle. The shop owner described the man, and the description was a perfect match for Zhang Shan's own father. The police were floored. They immediately re-questioned Mr. Zhang. He broke down and confessed to a story that was even more shocking than the original kidnapping tale. It turns out the abduction was a complete fabrication, a desperate lie cooked up to cover a family's dark secret. 9 years ago, Zhang Shan had accidentally caused a fire at home while her parents were out. The fire led to the death of her younger brother. Consumed by grief and fear of being blamed, her parents made a rash decision. They sent her away to live with distant relatives, telling everyone she had been kidnapped. But why Li Hao? Why did Zhang Shan accuse an innocent man? The father explained that when they decided to bring her back, they needed a scapegoat to make the story believable. They chose Li Hao because he was a quiet loner with few friends, someone they thought wouldn't be able to defend himself. They coached Zhang Shan on the story, drilling it into her head. She was to accuse Li Hao and stick to the story no matter what. After years of isolation and guilt over her brother's death, she was emotionally fragile and went along with her parents' plan, perhaps as a way to atone for her childhood mistake. The truth was out, but the tragedy was far from over. Li Hao was cleared of all charges, but his reputation was ruined. He had been vilified by the public and his life was turned upside down. The Zhang parents were arrested for filing a false police report and obstruction of justice. And what about Zhang Shan? The 9-year-old girl who vanished was now a young woman, trapped not in a physical basement, but in a prison of lies built by her own family. Her 9-year captivity was a period spent in exile, hidden away from the world, burdened by a terrible secret. This case raises profound questions about truth, guilt, and the desperate measures people take to protect themselves and their loved ones. It wasn't a story of a monster and a victim, but a complex family tragedy born from a single moment of panic. The kidnapper wasn't a stranger lurking in the shadows. It was a lie that grew so large it consumed an entire family for nearly a decade. The mystery of her disappearance was solved, but the scars left by those 9 years of deception would last a lifetime. What do you think is the most shocking part of this story? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you found this story as fascinating as I did, make sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into true crime mysteries.